Well, hello, DCO Nation. Welcome to Deadcom Outdoors Radio. This is the show where the tide set the tone and the bite tells the story. We're diving into everything saltwater inshore kayak fishing, from lures and locations to weather, water, and winning tactics. If it helps you hook up on more fish, we're talking about it right here. So grab your paddle, check your drag, and here we go. Well, hello, DCO Nation, and welcome to Deadcom Outdoors right here on the Outdoor Radio Network. And before we jump into the show today, I want to welcome all of our new listeners on B106 in Ocean City, Maryland. Sorry, I'm a little tongue-tied. Ocean City, Maryland, and ORN 1460 in the Chesapeake Bay area, and also our new affiliate, which I think I can go ahead and drop this because when I was on Captain Bob's show this week, he dropped it. So I'm just going to follow suit. So I want to welcome all of the new listeners at 104.7 Fox Sports in Memphis, Tennessee. Really super excited to have everybody as new listeners, new affiliates to the Outdoor Radio Network. For those of you who don't know, my name is Chris. I am Deadcom Outdoors. That is my channel on YouTube, and now on the radio on the Outdoor Radio Network. So I concentrate, and my show is all saltwater inshore kayak fishing. So I am the first part, excuse me, of the Kayak Power Hour. So I do all of the saltwater inshore kayak fishing, and then Adam Milstead follows me, and he does all of the freshwater kayak fishing. So stick around after my show, catch Adam's show. He's absolutely fantastic. And again, if you guys want to follow me, I'm on the social medias, Instagram, Facebook. I'm on Spotify, YouTube. If you guys like the long form videos, if you want to catch some of my fishing adventures, I've been putting out some fishing tournaments that I was just in. You can go catch that. Just search Deadcom Outdoors and we can get connected. So my topic this week is really, it's several topics. I want to recap the Flounder tournament that I was in 2 weeks ago. And then I want to jump into the fishing I did last weekend in Merle's Inlet, kind of let you know what I was seeing, how the fishing was, maybe the patterns, things like that. And then there is a question that was submitted by one of the subscribers and people who follow me on social media. And he asked me a question. I thought it was a great question. So I'm going to kind of catch that kind of at the back end of the show. But you guys definitely don't want to miss that, because that is a question that I think a lot of people kind of struggle with. They don't know where to go. So, I'm going to kind of give my opinion on, and answer his question. But if you guys have a question for me that you want me to answer on the air on the radio show, just go over to my social medias, again, Instagram, Facebook. You can leave a comment on Spotify, even on YouTube, and ask me a question, send me a message, and I'll throw it up onto the show. So, all right, let's jump into it. Excuse me. So 2 weeks ago, I was in the 23rd annual Flounder tournament put on by the Grand Strand Saltwater Anglers Association. Now, I know if you guys, the regular listeners, you guys know that we have been really hyping up that tournament. Well, it has finally come and gone. I participated in it, and this was the first year after 23 years that they finally had a kayak division. So this was the inaugural kayak division during the tournament. I was in it. There were, 9 anglers, I believe there was. Now my memory is starting to fade. It was either 8 or 9 anglers. It doesn't really make that much difference. But I was one of them, and I actually fished with 2 other guys. And we'll get to that here in a minute. So It was uh, photo, a catch photo release, a CPR event, and it was all run through Fish Chaos. And so, if you guys don't know about that, basically, after you catch a fish, you take a photo, you upload it to the app, and then the app does all of your culling throughout the tournament. So you don't have to keep up on that. You just catch your fish, submit it. They kick out the smaller fish and always keep you called out. So Fishing Chaos is absolutely awesome. So the Flounder tournament. So let's kind of jump into it here. So that day, it was a beautiful day. It was like in the upper 60s, starting out in the morning. It was pretty warm. We started fishing a falling tide. We were about halfway through the falling tide. Low tide was right at about maybe, I'm going to say 10:30ish, 11 o'clock, something like that. So lines were in at 7 o'clock. So we started fishing, and I started throwing around a 4-inch Z-Man minnows, diesel minnows. And it was in the right stuff color. And if you guys don't know that, it's a brown color. It's got some gold flake. And since the water was dropping out, I went with a 3/16-ounce Texas eye. I wanted to keep it weedless. And if you guys know the eye strike jigs, the Texas eye will keep your hook weedless. You can bury that tip into the bait. So I wanted to work grass lines, creek mouths, and around big oyster bars. So when we took off, we fished an area that I have never fished before, ever. We decided to fish away from everybody else. Everybody else launched from the, I'm putting big air quotes in here, the popular launch. And so we decided to go at the total opposite end and went to another area. Never fished it, rolled the dice. And so we just said, hey, listen, this is what we're going to do. We're going to live and die by it. And we just paddled on and went about our day. So it was about an hour, hour and a half into the tournament, and I caught my first fish. It was 15 and a half. So it was short. So for a fish to count in this tournament, it had to be a South Carolina minimum, which was 16 inches. So I could not submit that fish. So I caught him on that paddle tail, bouncing onto the bottom, got him, started moving down to some grass lines. Picked up another little short one, maybe about 14 inches, maybe about 30, 45 minutes later, and started working down and came to another creek mouth. Was fishing the creek mouth, never really got anything, kept kind of jiving around a little bit, went over to this area kind of across this major creek. I'm going to call it a major creek. It was probably a good 50 to 70 yards wide. Okay, so a pretty good sized little creek. And I call it a little creek, but for Merle's Inlet. So I saw this area over here where it was an oyster bank, and then splitting the creek right down the middle was this sandbar. It was starting to show itself, and there was a choke point. So I went over there, started casting around, started dragging my paddle tail right off the bottom, picked up another small flounder. So I'm like, okay, choke points and creek mouths may be where these fish are going to be staging up. So it kept moving along, kept going down through the day. Went to another creek mouth and picked up a redfish. Okay, great. Redfish, bottom feeders, flounder, bottom feeders. So it really doesn't surprise me that I picked up a redfish. Okay. He was nice. I didn't really measure him because I was in a flounder tournament, but he was probably anywhere from 18, 19 inches. It was a fun fight, great fish, kept moving around. So I decided to kind of change it up a little bit. So I took off the paddle tail and I started throwing around a jerk shad. It was a 5-inch jerk shad. And I okay, I'm going to change up my presentation. I'm going to be a little bit more erratic. I'm going to hop it onto the bottom a little bit, kind of get that thing kind of darting around, see if I can pick up something, and probably fished it a good, I'm going to say hour and a half easy. and never got anything, never got a hit, nothing. So I was like, okay. So this was putting me kind of at the bottom of the tide about that 11:30. The tides kind of started to switch around a little bit. And so I went back to a paddle tail. The paddle tail was in the deal color. So I changed colors because in the morning I wanted a little bit darker color. It was, low light conditions. We had a few little clouds around, but come that 10, 11 o'clock, the clouds blew out. It was a beautiful bluebird sky day. So I went with the deal color. It was a very natural color and went back to that, hopping it around and started picking up fish again. So picked up another 14. I picked up like a 13, picked up my last fish was again another 14 at a creek mouth. So again, there was something about that paddle tail that was, attracting the flounder. They didn't want the jerk shad. I don't know if it was my presentation or the color, or I can't really say it was the size because the sizes were about the same. Okay, that 4 to 5 inch. So the size was about right, what they were looking for. But I think the presentation with the kind of a twitch pause with that paddle tail, kind of hop, pausing it on the bottom, hop, pause on the bottom, and then kind of letting it set. Or I was kind of dragging it a little bit, not giving it a lot of movement. And that's where I was catching my flounder, was on that pause sitting on the bottom. So I think maybe with that thump of the paddle tail and that twitch pause presentation was really the key of catching those flounder. So the tournament lines were out at 250. I never registered a fish. I caught 7 or 8 flounder. I think it was 7 flounder and a redfish. So I was catching fish. I just couldn't get that 116 to get him on the board. The 2 guys I was fishing with, Corey Denny, congratulations. He won it with his first fish that he caught off the docks. It was 17 3/4. And then my buddy Heath, he caught a 16 3/4 at the back end of the day, probably within the last hour before lines were out. And he caught a 16 3/4 and he took second place. So congratulations to you 2 guys. I couldn't get it done, caught a ton of fish, had a great time, ton of fun during the tournament. And I can't wait for next year. So guys, we are coming up to the end of our first segment. Don't go anywhere. We're going to break down last weekend's fishing and answer a follower and subscriber's question. Guys, you're listening to Dead Calm Outdoors right here on the Outdoor Radio Network. Well, welcome back, DCO Nation. And you are listening to Dead Calm Outdoors. In that first segment, I was breaking down the flounder tournament that I was in and kind of the presentation and kind of the baits and lures that I was using. And that first segment went by so quick, but what a fun tournament. I'm definitely looking forward to hitting it again next year. I was fortunate enough to help, along with several other guys, to put together the kayak division, all of the rules. We actually did the captain's meeting for the kayaks. We did a board check the night before. And I actually had a couple of guys, ask, how come you do a board check? Well, in kayak tournaments, we make sure that the guys aren't manipulating their boards. And, you try to, eliminate, cheating and things like that. I know we really don't want to talk about stuff like that, but it does happen. And we did a board check, make sure that, the boards that they were using, which are the catch boards, where everything was good. And then we gave them their identifier and their little identifier card. so that, they can't submit fish, the day before or anything like that. So, and it was a fun event. There was raffles and giveaways and stuff like that. So really, again, I can't wait for next year. It's a super fun event. If you guys want to come down and can get into this event next year, it's usually in that April timeframe, the back end of April. So look for it next year. I know we're going to be promoting it. So, get down here and get into this flounder tournament. So, all right, guys. So let's jump into my fishing that I did last weekend. I never fished on Saturday because we had a rain day. It rained all day long. I mean, literally, when I got up in the morning, and I got up early because I'm an early riser, my body clock goes off. It was like 5:30 in the morning. I popped awake. I, got my coffee, and it rained all day long. Well, come Sunday, it cleared off, and it was a beautiful day. It was a little cool. And when I got out there, I thought to myself, you know what? This is probably not going to be a good day of fishing. Go out, try some new areas, try some things, and see if you can piece together something. Because one, it was after all of that rain and that front. We had a cold front come through. It was 49 degrees. May 3rd, 49 degrees. It was cold out. Water temperatures dropped from the Flounder tournament 2 weeks ago to last week, about 5 to 6 degrees. So, it was 2 days after a full moon. Front, I mean, it seemed like everything was stacked against me. And also, I was fishing the incoming tide to high tide and a little bit of the outgoing. So, I know I've said it before, but fishing high tide is just not my thing. There are some days I can get it figured out. Other days I just can't. Low tide fishing is what I really prefer. But it was a high tide day. So you know what? Beggars can't be choosers. I'm a weekend warrior. I got out there and started fishing. So I started with the paddle tail, just like during the Flounder tournament. It was in the deal color because it was tied on. I never even changed it. So I was like, okay, everything's working against me, cold fronts, all that kind of stuff. I'm going to think winter patterns and presentations. I'm going to throw it out, do low and slow right on the bottom. So I was throwing it out there, kind of dragging it, not doing a whole lot to it, seeing if I could pick anything up. And I was getting nothing. So I was about an hour and a half into fishing. Again, I'm going to probably say 8:30-ish. Okay. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try the twitch pause, change up the presentation. I did not change my lure, still kept that 4-inch paddle tail on there, and started to do the twitch pause. Let's start there. It worked for me during the tournament. Let's go straight back to it. So threw it out there, twitch pause. It probably wasn't 5 minutes at a creek mouth, and I picked up a 14-inch flounder. And I was like, okay, that's got to mean something. These flounder are aggressive feeders, and I think they wanted something moving and trying to get away from them that they could chase down. So filed that away, kept doing it. Picked up another flounder, went to another creek mouth that was really close to the first one that I caught that flounder, and got another. I think he was maybe 15. I'd need to go back and watch the video again. I'm in the process of editing that video to kick it out for this weekend. But I think he was like 15, 14 and a half, 15. Picked up another flounder at that twitch pause. Great. I think we've put the presentation and the pattern together. Threw it back into that same creek mouth, felt a big thump, and I was hooked into a nice flounder. And he was starting to come up. I saw him at the top, Before he even broke the water and the surface, he shook that thing off, threw the lure, and lost him. Now, you know how it goes. Usually the ones you lose are the biggest fish. Now, guys, I have got it on video. He was all of, I'm going to say, in a minimum 18, if not 20-inch flounder. He was a nice big flounder. I got to look at him. I need to check and see if you can see it on the camera, but I've got a rear camera and my chest camera. So I need to check both of them to see if he was there. But yeah, that was the thing. So I was like, okay, the pattern's established. I went down some creek mouths. I picked up some other flounder. Ended up being a really good day of fishing. I never changed my lure. I threw the same Z-Man, the Deal 4-inch diesel minnow with the 3/16 ounce Texas eye rigged weedless the whole day, and caught several flounder, nothing else. They were all flounder. I'm not going to tell you how many. You guys got to go over to YouTube this weekend and check it out. But really good day of fishing. Yeah, slide over to YouTube this weekend. Check out, a couple of those videos. But this kind of dovetails into the question that I got from Nate. So I'm actually, here's my phone right here in my hand. So if you guys are watching on either YouTube or Spotify, so if you're listening on the radio, I always upload like the next day. So this will upload on Wednesday. So on Thursdays, you can catch the video portion of this on Spotify and YouTube. So Nate said, my buddy and I can't seem to catch anything. We will be down for 2 weeks. What color Z-Man minnows do you recommend? He wants to use live bait, and I say no. So I thought that was a great question. And I think that's a lot of questions that guys have when they go and maybe they're in a skunk situation. Hey, listen, we can't catch anything. What color are you throwing? So this is how I answered Nate back. I went, color when I am fishing is probably the third thing I think of. It's presentation first, how I'm working that lure. I'm matching the size. So I'm matching the hatch, okay, with size. And then color is usually third. I don't think color matters as much as what people think. The only time I really start thinking about color is if it's a bright bluebird sunny day. I stick with the natural colors, okay? The whites, the pearls, the shad colors. You guys know the very natural looking colors. Those are the ones I go with. As it starts getting darker and cloudier, I start to gravitate toward that darker palette on the color chart. So, some browns, some blacks. I'll go to like pinks, the electric chicken colors, the chartreuses, things like that. I start getting into those colors where it's, partly cloudy, cloud covered, things like that, because I want a contrast in that water because it's going to be dark. Darker colors seem to stick out better when it's darker outside. So, presentation is always first. Just like I was talking about last weekend flounder fishing when I was working the winter pattern first and wasn't getting anything. I was low and slow, dragging on the bottom, not giving it a lot of movement, thinking that maybe these fish have they slowed down their feeding. Maybe they wanted something just right in their face, but it wasn't. I changed up the presentation, twitch, pause, started giving it some movement, and they started to hit it. And then size is second. I want to see what's working in these creeks. Well, the last couple of weeks, I have been seeing a ton of mullet, pinfish, things like that. And they are all around that I'm going to say anywhere from 3, 4, 5, 6 inches. Now, yes, I did see some bigger mullet, 12, 14-inch mullet, but a lot of the bait that I was seeing was that 3 to 6 inch size. So I figured, okay, great, 4 inch would be perfect. That's where I started. I didn't change because I was catching fish. So think presentation, size, and color. That's the way I do it, and it seems to work. Tell me what works for you guys. Is your area heavily color dependent? It may not be size, it may not be presentation. It's like, hey, listen, if I don't throw pearl, pearl white, I'm not catching fish. So, tell me, send me some comments, let me know what it's like in your area. So, guys, that is really it for the show. Man, that is crazy how fast this goes by. When I get to talking fishing, I absolutely love it. So, guys, I appreciate each and every one of you. And remember, conservation starts with you. Release the fish for someone else to enjoy. And you've been listening to Dead Come Outdoors right here on the Outdoor Radio Network.